evening, everyone. Sorry, good evening and welcome to a really informative night for you on scholarships for the class of 2020. So it is beginning to be very close to the to graduation day, and I was saying to a student the other day that literally last Thursday it was 4 months to graduation, and they were having a little bit of a moment, and I said you have exactly 4 months to do this, so let's get it done. Last year, just to give a sense of actually the scholarships that we gave out to the class of 2019, that we had given out between the class of 19 itself and alumni over $300,000 from the unbelievable generosity of the community and its sponsors and foundations. So we were just so very grateful for that. And so this night is really an opportunity for you to see exactly how we engage scholarships here in the school. And really the work of the guidance department, in particular Mr. Goldman, in really putting together an opportunity for going from a lot of paper to really having things online. So if you were a parent sitting here who had a student who already graduated, and remembering all the multiple copies of scholarship applications, it really has changed. And I think you're going to be in for really a much more streamlined process. So this is really a two-part presentation. So I want to introduce Steve Goldman, who's one of our guidance counselors who's in charge of the scholarships here at the high school. And of course, Alexa Phelps, who is one of our guidance interns this year. So she is here this evening. And then of course, Dr. Melanie Gates, who's part of the presentation as well, because Melanie coordinates and chairs the Middleborough Dollars for Scholars. So you have two very different presentations tonight, but ultimately they're all really to share with you the opportunities for your seniors. And it's so good that the seniors are here tonight, many of them, because really you have the tall order of doing all this application. So it's important for you to see the opportunities that you have and then how to navigate this really robust book as well. So without further ado, I want to introduce Steve Goldman to begin tonight's presentation.
Thank you all for coming out. Wow, this is quite a crowd we have. I think next year we're going to have to find a new venue for this. Maybe next door. New venue, bigger venue. Bigger venue. So, how many people have already gone through this at least once? Okay, so as Mr. Brannigan said, it has changed. There's no more paper that's going out. Everything is out here on the web now. So we're going to kind of walk through. We tried to make it as simple as possible and as user-friendly as possible. The only paper is going to be the end when the students print out their applications and send them off. So what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of days is I'm going to be emailing all the seniors and all the parents and guardians a copy of the scholarship booklet that is also on the website with instructions of how to access what we're going to go over tonight. So that'll go out also. I'm going to go over parts, there's 3 sections to this book. I'm going to go over sections 1 and 3. Dr. Gates will go over section 2, which is the Dollars for Scholars. So the first thing I want to say before we even talk about scholarships is how many people already started their FAFSA forms? Excellent. If you have not started your FAFSA, you cannot submit applications. You can start the applications, but you cannot submit them until you complete the FAFSA form, because 99% of the applications are going to ask you for information that comes off that FAFSA form. So if you have not done that yet, you go to fafsa.gov, and the information is in the 3rd workbook that we gave the seniors and the parents. FAFSA.gov. Do not go to FAFSA.com. That is a website that's going to charge you a fee to process it for you. The first F in FAFSA is free application for federal student aid. So if at any point they're asking you for money, you are on the wrong website. Okay? So you want to make sure that you are going to FAFSA.gov and filling out that information. The student and the parent or guardian needs to open up an account. So it can't just be one. They both have to, because you're both putting information in there. So let's talk a little bit about scholarships. So the first place we're going to go is to the Middleborough High School website. And you can find the scholarship information in 2 spots. Right here on the main page, where this thing is flashing from one event to the next. Or you can go to About Us, so I'm not going to wait for this to go there. So I'm going to click on About Us. I'm going to click on Guidance of Departments, and then go down to the Guidance Department. And then we move the scholarship link up to the top over here. So we're going to click on Scholarship Information. And this is what is going to pop up. And this is the cover of the scholarship book. It's actually open. So this is the scholarship book. This is the 3 different steps of how to go through the process. And we're going to go over these tonight. Then we get into section 1 and the specific instructions, and then all the listing of all the scholarships that are listed in section 1. Section 1 subscribes to one, let's call it a common application, but it's not the common application. It's a Middleborough High School application that all of the sponsors in section 1 said, we'll use your application. So all you're going to have to do is fill out this application once, print it out, delete the title of the first scholarship, type in the title of the second scholarship, print it out, delete the title, and you just keep going through that until you have one for each scholarship you choose to apply for. So there's a description for each scholarship, what the application deadline, and in general, most of the application deadlines are March 13th. There are a few that are before, there are a few that are after, so you just got to kind of watch that very carefully. And then it tells you where it gets submitted to. Some of them get submitted to the guidance office. Some of them get submitted via email to the scholarship sponsor. Some of them have to be mailed to the scholarship sponsor. Some of them you have to just go online to, there's a link you have to click on and just fill out the scholarship and submit it. So this is section 1, and then I talked about the application, and there's a sample application around page 19 or 20. There it is right here. That's what it's 2 pages. The first page is all the scholarship information, about the family information, and this is the information from the FAFSA they're going to want from you, right here. And the second page is an activity sheet. If the students want to, they can use the activity sheet that they used for their guidance counselor when they filled out all their college stuff as page 2. They just need to make sure that they're printing the application and the scholarship sheet back to back. Any parents of alumni in here? Okay, they should use this one, this activity sheet, because it tells what grade they're in college, what year they're in college.
Should they use activities also from high school, or both, or just
You can
for
use
college?
both, but I wouldn't go. Yeah, I would only put there's only so
The
much
most
space.
important.
The most significant stuff. Okay. Then we move on to section 2, which is Dollars for Scholars, and that is just one link, and I'm going to have Dr. Gates talk about that in a minute. And then section 3 of the special applications, and that is the scholarship sponsors that want to use their own application, and I'm going to show you how to download those applications in a little while. So that is the scholarship book. Underneath the scholarship book, you can see section 1, 2, and 3. So if we click on section 1, this is a digital application. So all you need to do is just type in, as I said before, all the information about you and your siblings and your financial and the information they want off of your FAFSA form. Put the name of the scholarship in, print it, delete the name of the scholarship, type in the new scholarship, print it until you have one for every single scholarship in section 1 that you're going to apply to. So that is that piece. And then I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gates to talk about section 2.
How are we doing, everybody? You're kind of a quiet group. You're making me nervous. Thank you for joining us here tonight. As Mr. Goldman said, this is probably one of our biggest groups that we've had in the last several years, so thank you for coming out and showing your support to your students as they are getting ready to pursue their post-secondary education. Let me just fiddle with this a little bit here. All right, so Middleborough Dollars for Scholars is a chapter that started in the 1960s here in Middleborough. It was formerly known as Citizen Scholarship Foundation. We have formed a partnership with the National Charter from Scholarship America. And within our chapter, we host currently 16 scholarships. The majority of those scholarships are available to graduating seniors from Middleborough High School. We do have one that is now available for a graduate from Bristol Plymouth. And we have one or two that are eligible for alumni, but the bulk of our scholarships are available only to Middleborough High School graduates. All of our scholarships are available in the scholarship booklet in terms of the narrative description. We have a website, middleborough.dollarsforscholars.org, where you can learn about us. But this is where you would go to be able to apply for our scholarships. We have a completely online system that enables you to apply for scholarships through our chapter, as well as gaining access to scholarships from other organizations, from the National Charter of Scholarship America, as well as from a service called FastWeb. And I'll talk a little bit more about those as we go through. But once you visit our site here at middleborough.dollarsforscholars.org, and you click on the Students and Parents tab, it'll bring you to the place where you can then create your account. My recommendation to our seniors who are going to create their scholarship account, when it asks you for an email address, don't use your school email, because you can maintain access to your scholarship account beyond your time here at Middleborough High School. So when you're completing your freshman, sophomore, junior years of college, you could still go back in and apply for eligible scholarships through our chapter, as well as scholarships available through Scholarship America and FastWeb. Let me just log out just so you can see what this looks like. Just kind of go backwards here, maybe. All right, so as I said, middleborough.dollarsforscholars.org, Students and Parents tab, and in the middle of the screen, you get the click login button. If you have not created an account, you can see 3/4 of the way down the text. You can see if you have a profile, log in below. Don't have an account yet, create one. Once you do create your account, this can still be the same area to which you log back in. I made a student account myself just so I could emulate for you what the experience would look like. Similar to what Mr. Goldman said, your financial information will be very helpful in applying for these scholarships. Some of our scholarships do have financial needs associated with them that's determined by something called unmet need, which is based upon what your financial information comes back from FAFSA and the colleges that you're applying for. Our system determines what your unmet financial need is and uses that to filter what scholarships you might be eligible for. But once you click into our page and you log in, you're first on your dashboard here. When you first begin this, you'll need to work on your profiles. Your profile will determine what scholarships you're eligible for. In our system, you don't pick and choose what scholarships you apply for. Based upon filling out your profile, it will automatically determine for you what scholarships you're eligible for through our chapter. So, much like a paper application, there are various fields that you can fill out. The more information you put in here, the more scholarships you could be eligible for within our chapter, as well as through our partners, Scholarship America and FastWeb. So, on this side here under My Information, you see the various tabs which represent the different components of a profile that you can complete. Some of our scholarships require, have different requirements for them. and our online system will filter it for you. So for example, we have the John Hilzebeck Television Production Scholarship. Mr. Hilzebeck was the innovator who brought television production to the Middleborough Public Schools, and we honored him and celebrating him with a scholarship in his name. The criteria for that is that you got to be a kid who participated in TV Pro, and you got to be a kid that's going to school, going to do something related to television production, whether it's you being a journalist yourself, etc. So the criteria for that scholarship are set within our program, and as you fill out your profile, it will determine what your match is for our scholarships. So by filling out the various components of your profile will determine your scholarship eligibility. On the far left-hand side here, you'll see My Scholarships. Once I click on that, it shows me what scholarships I am eligible for. So you can see there under the red bar, it says Scholarship Applications Ready to Complete. These are the scholarships I'm eligible to apply for. This does not mean that I have applied yet. You can see here at the top, I have applied to all scholarships with a red apply button. What that means, where there's a red apply button, means that there's no additional information needed. There are no custom essay questions needed. So for the 5 scholarships that I can just click to apply, all I got to do is click that red button. I'm going to give it my electronic signature. And that should then allow me to apply for the scholarships. I don't know what it just did on my iPad, but there we go. So you'll notice that that list of 8 has now dropped down to 3. These 3 scholarships that I am eligible to apply for require a custom essay question. So you can see it says View and Questions. If I click on the red question button, it will pop up with what is the unique question for this particular scholarship. So in this instance, this is the Luther B. Churchill Scholarship. This is geared towards music students. How have your experiences as a music student prepared you for lifelong enjoyment and participation in music? You would go through and type your essay within that space provided and hit submit. I'm just going to type something, and I'm legitimately going to type something, just so I can show you what it looks like to submit something. Thank you for laughing. It makes me feel really good. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Do you notice any difference now between what I just did with the Luther B. Churchill Scholarship in comparison to what it looked like originally?
It's not red anymore.
Question button was red initially, and now it's turned over to blue. And the apply button is now red, which means I'm now eligible to, now I can apply for that scholarship because my application is complete. So I can just click the red apply button. It's going to ask you for your electronic signature again, I guess verifying the authenticity of the information provided. And that same thing would apply for these 2 remaining scholarships, where if a question is needed, you click on that question button, you provide your response, submit it, and then apply for the scholarship. If you fill out a profile and you do not click to apply for the scholarship, then you actually have not applied for the scholarship. So we would not be able to then consider your application. So it's important that you do complete that final step. So as I said, based upon how you fill out your profile, will determine the scholarships that you are eligible for through our chapter. Now we do have a partnership with, through Scholarship America, with FastWeb, and you'll see that below. It says FastWeb Scholarships. You can click on that and it's going to take you to a completely different portal where you can apply for additional online scholarships. But please, as a disclaimer, Middleborough Dollars for Scholars has no bearing upon that whatsoever. We have no influence upon it. It's just a partnership through Scholarship America and FastWeb to just enable students to have increased access to scholarship opportunities, because that is the main mission of Scholarship America, is to be able to provide students with funding to pursue their post-secondary dreams. So now, yep, sorry.
Fast Web, WEB?
Yes, FastWeb Scholarships.
Thank you.
Yep, you're welcome. Now, if you do happen to have questions on something with FastWeb, I'm sure I can reach out to someone in my national charter to help us out. If you have any questions about anything related to Middleborough Dollars for Scholars, please reach out to me directly. I'd be happy to help. I also have other members of my board that also work here in the Middleborough Public Schools. Mrs. Marsha Holmgren, who's Mr. Brannigan's secretary, she is actually the treasurer for our board. Mr. Sean Siciliano, I think a few people might know him. He is our vice president, and we have other community members that are also on our board as well. You can learn more about us through our website. Under the About Us tab, you can see who members of our board are. Mr. Brannigan does serve on the board as a non-voting member because you do have to reside in the community of Middleborough to be a member of our board. And although Mr. Brannigan sleeps here at night, he technically doesn't have a Middleborough address yet, maybe. You can also learn about our various scholarships under the About Us tab with some graphics that are here that represent the scholarship offerings that we have. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me via my Middleborough Public Schools email address, which is located on the website. If you need that email address now, I can certainly give it to you, but it's really long.
I do have one question.
Yes, absolutely.
So when you're building your profile, is there anything like from outside sources that we need to put in there? Like when it says like GPA, do I need something from guidance to load into that, or?
The students, I believe, can add their guidance counselor to it. The guidance counselors have accounts as well that enable them to go in. So I believe the student just has to identify who their guidance counselor is with their email address to do that. Recommendations can be done the same way as well, but if a student has a copy of their a recommendation from a teacher, they can, I believe, upload that themselves as well. But in terms of the outside information, let me just go to my profile.
Like it has test scores. You know, when we were uploading for college applications, we had to load everything in, you know, from the official site. We couldn't input any of that information in, so I didn't know if this works the same way.
So I could go right in right now, and I clearly had a 4.0 when I was a freshman in high school. So it does allow you to do some manually inputting of that. We trust that people will be honest in their applications. And I mean, we do have access to school information too, that if we needed to cross-reference for any sort of conflict, that's certainly something that can be done as well. But the majority of ours is really based upon what is it that you're going to school for? What types of activities have you participated in? Are some of our major filtering requirements. You know, the kids that are on the top of the graduating class are going to get their fair share of money. And what we want to try to do is make sure that all students get a piece of that pie, because we do know that college expenses are quite extraordinary nowadays. So we're not really so concerned about what kids' class ranks are and GPAs. We want to look at how they've been involved in the school community. So quite a few of our scholarships do have an essay with that, and we put a lot of weight in it because we want to know about who you are as a person and what it is that you believe in regarding our specific questions. And those are weighed heavily by us. Just a little bit about our screening process. Because we use a digital platform, I'm able to print anonymous applications, which means that we don't look at what a student's name is when we are going through our applicants. We really want what the application says to speak for itself, not what the student's first and last name are. So we really take an unbiased approach to the review of our applicants. So there are ways to be able to submit for people to provide information for you, but we're really not looking at what your transcript is because that's not the criteria that our board has set forth. The scholarships that we do have, the majority of them are sponsored by families and outside organizations. And when they partner with us, we manage the scholarship on their behalf. And We allow our sponsors to set forth what the criteria are, and we honor that from our sponsors. So for example, our neighbors next door in the community of Lakeville have sponsored a scholarship the last 3 years in honor of their son, who unfortunately passed away right before he was getting ready to start college. And in meeting with that family, they had specific criteria that they wanted for the scholarship, but it was mostly about the attributes of the student. How do they demonstrate a sense of community and kindness, and really evaluate that through the essays that are provided. So that was a really long answer to that question, so I hope I somewhat answered it for you. Yes,
Looks like
Mrs.
the
Crowley.
deadline's a different date.
What was it? I'm sorry?
The deadline for the scholarship.
We align our deadlines with the high school, with the exception of if a scholarship were to come about last minute, which sometimes they do, we would extend deadlines as needed. To learn more information about us in the moment, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter. On our webpage, you can click on the social media icons to access our Facebook page or our Twitter handle. But I believe the application deadline is
March 13th.
something like that, yeah. March 13th, what Mr. Goldman said. We
It's
do.
4/17, that's what I thought.
Yeah, I just haven't gone into, to change that yet, because I don't think I knew what the actual deadline was until now, so thanks.
Does it have auto save with the student time? FAFSA? You know, if you're in there and they have a power outage in Middleborough?
But we've got awesome gas and electric who save us, right? Right?
Depends on where you live.
It does depend where you live. I think you do have to save as you go. There's always save and continue buttons at the bottom of each of these components. So let's just say that if I put that in as a number and I go to the next cell, I come out of it, go back in it, you do have to click save at the bottom. It could be acting different too, because I'm on an iPad versus being on a laptop or a desktop. Any other questions you folks have? If as you're going through the online process and you have questions, by all means, please reach out. I'm happy to answer them as needed. But I will turn it over to Mr. Goldman, and I'll be hanging out in the corner if anybody has questions later on. Thank you for your time.
So as guidance counselors, we do get email alerts when a student has put our information into the Dollars for Scholars application. And so depending on, it could be anything from uploading a transcript to putting in SAT scores. There's a whole bunch of different things that they could possibly ask for. Sometimes it's a letter of recommendation. Most of the students are using their teacher letters of recommendation for the scholarships now. I think they feel like the teachers have seen them for a very long period of time, over time, whereas a guidance counselor, we don't have as much contact. Either way, we'll be happy to use a letter if they want, share a letter if they want our letter, but it's really will be up to them what they're most comfortable with. So that is section 2, and just I didn't mention before, there's just instructions underneath each one of these sections here. Also, to get to the Dollars for Scholars, you can just click right here on section 2, and it brings you right to their website there also, okay? One quick thing about this here, sometimes you have to click it, this digital app, sometimes you have to click it and then get out of it and click it again before it'll give you the ability to actually type on it, or just download it and then you can go back and type on it. Sometimes you just hit it the first time. I'm not sure what the issue is, but we're rolling with it. We know it works. Sometimes it's just an extra step in the process. If there's a problem, they can come down to guidance and they can ask us about that. So the section that we're most excited about, because this is the one that's undergone the most changes this year, is the section 3, which are the special applications. So all of the special applications, in the past, you had to come down to the guidance office, make a request for the applications you want, and then come back 24 hours later to pick up the stuff. Now, if you want to do this at 2 o'clock in the morning, you can just go right to your laptop or your desktop and you can click on the scholarship. So we'll click on one of the scholarships here. And there it is, it pops right up. You just print it, and these are handwritten. Okay, none of these are digital, so these are all handwritten. There's a few, the one I happen to click on just now, if you look at this carefully at the top, this one application is for several different scholarships. They're all listed and default right to this, but you only have to fill it out once. So if you're applying for the Anna Taft Sparrow Scholarship and the Adelia Richards Scholarship, you only have to fill out this application once. Okay, it goes to the same person, and then they make a decision on all the applications and all the scholarships that are on this one application. So if this one pops up when you click, and you're like, I filled one of these out already, you don't have to fill it out again. So this is the American Legion one. So you can see it's a different application. So most of them are different. So those are the 3 different sections. As I said, we are going to send out a copy of the book via email to everybody and instructions how to access everything. One of the reasons we're really excited about section 3 is for the alumni, because most of them are away at school right now, so they don't have to send somebody here or call us. They can just get right online and they can complete their applications and send them out. So it's a big change from what we've done in the past. We're really excited about it. We hope it's going to be more helpful and easier to use for the students. On page 1 of the scholarship book are the basic instructions of how to handle each section. If there's any questions, they can certainly, the students can come down to guidance, and any of the guidance counselors can help them with the process of getting on track with this. Just please be careful with time deadlines. Most of these scholarships, if you miss the deadline, they're not going to take it late. Anything that's due to guidance, please make sure it is handed to a guidance staff member. Don't hand it to somebody else and say, can you bring this to guidance? Don't slide it under the door or leave it on a desk. We are not responsible for anything that is not submitted directly to somebody from the guidance office. Same thing for completed applications. We're just collecting applications. We're not checking to see if all the documents that need to be in it are in it. So you just got to read the instructions very carefully. Back-to-back copies of applications, and then if they want a transcript or a letter or anything else, it should be stapled to the back of the application. The application should always be on the top. So that is the scholarship process in a nutshell. Questions? Yes, over here.
All right, since the deadlines are basically in just a few weeks, right? If they do require a letter of recommendation, now the only letter of recommendations the kids have gotten at this point are from the teachers to apply to college. Are we using those same letters?
Yes. So the question is, the only letters the students have at this point are ones for applying to college. The letters aren't changed. The letters, and this is what all high schools do. It's the college. It's the recommendation that's sent to college.
Okay.
It's the same, even though it says, you know.
Because the kids don't get copies of those.
No, they don't.
So they're in the Naviance system, so how do we get it from Naviance into this? or print it, or whatever, attach it?
I believe for the Dollars for Scholars, Dr. Gates, do they have the ability to put the teacher's info in there too for Dollars for Scholars?
Yes.
So they will get an email, and the teachers can upload their letters directly in there.
Okay.
I don't think in the other ones, in section 1 and 3, there's any specific letters of recommendation. If they need one, they can ask their teacher to give them one in a sealed envelope,
Okay.
and they can, or if they want a guidance one, same thing, we can put them in a sealed envelope.
Okay.
Other questions? Yes, over here.
When was the last time they did class ranking and?
Class ranks were updated last week after the exams. So we have them in guidance. We asked to have them uploaded into Naviance. It didn't happen yet. We're waiting for the tech department to do that. So we will talk with the tech department about that again. And in the meantime, if they need a class rank, they can email their guidance counselor and they can reply back with that for them. Other questions? Yes, over here.
Do you have other scholarships that you're going to apply for that aren't through Middleborough, the town of Middleborough? Can you obtain certified copies of your transcript now for those applications?
Depending, so the question is if you're applying for scholarships that are not through this process, and if you scroll down underneath all this, underneath the scholarship information, is all the stuff that I email out throughout the course of the year, they're all posted right here also. And there's a new one that's coming out tomorrow, just to let you know. I just uploaded it. So if you need a transcript for that, if it's an unofficial transcript, we can give you an unofficial, and you can hold on to it and make photocopies of that. If you need an official one, again, we can put it in a sealed envelope, and we can give that to you. And the same thing for the scholarship process too. If you need an unofficial transcript, you get one. So make sure you make copies of that. If you need official ones, if you can, try to count them all up ahead of time, so Mrs. Amaral, our secretary, doesn't have to keep going back and doing it. She'll do it all at once and give them to you in a sealed envelope. If it's an online thing that we're going to be emailed, the guidance counselor will just upload that transcript right in for you. Okay, so if we can just try to, it gets very, very busy with all the requests, and of course, kids being kids, they tend to wait till the very end to request all that stuff, and it becomes very chaotic in the guidance office.
Wow, there's a lot of shocked faces right now.
Right. So, and we stop. The last day to request a transcript is 48 hours before the deadline, March 13th deadline, for scholarships. We can't guarantee that we will be able to get them all done after that. We will try, but we can't guarantee that will happen. Other questions? So the hardest part of this is reading all of these. My suggestion would be print out the book, check off the ones or highlight the ones that you want, that you feel you meet the criteria or close to the criteria, and then just sit down, and I would do section 1 first. Sit down, get all the section 1 applications done. Go over to section 2 for Dollars for Scholars. Fill out the profile and submit it. This way, you know you're done. And then for section 3, you can start going through and picking, picking the individual apps that you're interested in applying for. So it's not, the hardest part is just reading all of it. The filling out of the applications is not that difficult. Other questions? Well, Dr. Gates and I will be around for a little while. If you have questions, please feel free to come to us. We thank you all for coming out. Don't hesitate to email us if you have any questions, and good luck with the process.